for this event. I do want to thank Jamaica, our ASL team. So we're so excited that they're here and we could have everyone join us through Zoom and Rob. So thanks for coming. And with that, I'm going to transition to Daniela and Khawaja. So I will let them introduce themselves. I will not do them justice. So here you go. Yeah. It's on. Here.
Is this on? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
And you have your slides.
All right.
Thanks, Jonky.
Yeah, it was a little awkward. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for being here. In addition to our sponsors, I just also wanted to make sure that we thank the Momento team. There was a lot of effort to make sure that we put on a quality event with valuable lessons that you all can walk away with. We want to make sure that the content here is educational, inspirational to supercharge your business. And I also want to thank all the speakers that are here. We've got some amazing speakers with very relevant content. They're not here to sell you Momento. Maybe the two of us are a little bit.
Not me.
Just kidding. But no, we have great speakers with very relevant content in this new world of AI. And our hope is that you walk away educated and inspired with actionable things that you can do to supercharge your business, your projects with this new space. So can we get a hands for just the speakers real quick? All right. So Daniela and I have been working together for a long time. And in fact, we knew we were going to do a startup even when we worked together back at Amazon. This is as early as 2015, we talked about building a startup around serverless. The problem is the first serverless idea we had was to actually go build a restaurant ordering system where you can order food without a server. Clearly, we didn't know what serverless is. But honestly, the whole world is still figuring out what serverless really means and how it can be tweaked. But just a little bit more background about us. I started my career working on Mars Rovers at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and I really was excited about enabling discovery and enabling scientists and the global community of people just to be inspired by what's out there in space. Along the way, I stumbled upon AWS, and I realized that there's a whole other form of discovery and innovation happening. And what was happening was this cloud revolution was supercharging businesses and science all around the world. People were able to just iterate and innovate faster than ever because they had the power of cloud. They didn't have to wait for stuff to come in, through data centers, get it installed and so forth. They could just do this. And this notion of being able to run a top 500 supercomputer for a few $100 an hour and just throw it away when you're done was really inspiring to me in terms of the pace of innovation that it accelerates for the world. And that is why I moved away from NASA and started working into the cloud environment. And along the way, working on the cloud, there was another transition where things started to become more and more serverless. And the original services like SQS, S3, and so forth, they were already serverless to begin with. But the power of the serverless services was even more supercharged, where you didn't have to know that there are instances involved to get your job done.
So when I arrived at Amazon at AWS, I joined the DynamoDB team. And that was a whole nother world beyond just compute in the cloud. Instead of getting your own instances, which you have to benchmark, set up your own software, start running it, all of a sudden, all you get are these APIs. You type create table, and bam, if you want to go to scale to 10 million TPS per second, 10 million transactions per second, you can do it with a single API. No more configuring your own instance, benchmarking it, tuning it, installing the right database software, and then benchmarking that, measuring the performance, and scaling that, provisioning it. No more preparing for months in advance. You just say create API, create table API, and everything is done for you. And that was just a whole nother world of speeding up the developers, making them work faster so that they can focus on the business logic that differentiates their product. So we started Momento. Khawaja and I taken inspiration from what we saw at DynamoDB. We wanted to turn that into a world where we can enable developers to work more productively so that they can enable more features and more capabilities for their customers. So at Momento, our mission is to do that with the serverless platform that we have. And we started with caching. With caching, we are super proud to be and super fortunate to be supported by our customers and partners. We have customers running in production with us, millions of TPS, and we feel very fortunate that our partners has offered us the support and the faith that we can enable developer productivity for our customers. So these are the people that are sitting, some of them are here today, and you will hear from some of them later today. Again, super excited to have you all here.
As a young company, we have been fortunate to have customers that are really design partners. And they, when you build cache, you have no choice but to build a mission-critical system. Cache is in the critical path of your customer's workflow. When we are down, our customers are down, right? So we have to take that really, really seriously. We have to take the lessons we learned operating mission-critical services at AWS, at NASA, at Lightstep, and make sure that all that rigor is applied. But these partners, they not only put a lot of faith in us by putting mission-critical workloads on us, we've been fortunate enough to get a ton of design feedback. They inform our roadmap. They promote us to, their friends. They make introductions, and they push us hard, right? Like I wake up once in a while, and there's a message from the Paramount team around a benchmark that they ran at 5 in the morning, and some results and any anomalies they might have seen. It is inspiring, right? They push us to make sure that we keep delivering. And then they also demand features. And it's a good thing to be demanding those features because otherwise our roadmap would not be grounding. So as we started building the company, a lot of it was around making sure that we have the limited API surface area. And there's a couple of places where we took inspiration from. One was the DynamoDB. DynamoDB has a very, very limited API surface area. But there's also a really nice blog that I encourage everybody to read who's trying to build a company. There's ACM proceedings between Tom and Werner, Tom Kiley and Werner Vogels, where they talk about the very, very beginnings of S3 and the power of just focusing on a very, very narrow API surface area. So we started with cache, just gets and sets. And we wanted to make sure that we get that right. And it worked, right? A lot of our customers really wanted it. And we got to build a solid foundation around operational excellence, the availability story, the scale story, the benchmarking frameworks. And based on that foundation, then we started working on adding, a little more advanced capabilities like data structures and so forth. Along the way, our customers asked us to start supporting PubSub. So we launched Momento Topics. And fundamentally, if you go back to the mission that Daniela mentioned, we want to enable developers to move faster. The way we do this is by eliminating as many boxes from their architectural diagrams as we possibly can. On the cache side, we replace the 50 boxes of Redis clusters you might have with one box that says Momento. It's just one block. You don't have to worry about the number of shards and AZs and so forth. On the
Thank you.
got one fan. But on the topic side, we discovered something even more magical. We learned that when people are doing PubSub with the caching software, they also have to add an API layer to terminate the WebSocket connections. So not only are they managing PubSub with their Redis clusters, they're also managing either an API gateway and Lambda layer or a Fargate fleet with, in some cases, we saw customers having thousands of nodes that are just there to do the API fan out for topics. And we said, you don't need that. With Momento, we actually have an HTTP server. You can actually just connect directly to Momento. You can connect your phone directly to Momento and eliminate that entire API layer. And we doubled down on that with things like just direct HTTP access and fine-grained access control. And if you're familiar with DynamoDB and S3, one of the really cool things that S3 has that Dynamo doesn't is the web server. It's the HTTP server, so you can actually just go upload a picture And you can just send a friend a link, and it could be a signed URL, so only that picture is available. That signed URL is really, really powerful because all the stuff that you're storing in this massively scalable storage engine, this object store, is accessible via the web. Just two simple components, an HTTP server and fine-grained access control. So you have that with Momento. So if you build things with topics, or if you build things with cache, you can actually just access it via an HTTP call, load it in a browser, and just get going.
So one of the parts of our journey is listening to our customers, from caching to topics. We listen to what are you spending your time on, and how can we help you eliminate distractions to focus on your business? Well, in the past 6 months, what are people spending their innovation cycles on? AI, right? We all know that any company's stock goes up when you mention the word AI. the more you mention it, but jokes aside, I think it's really reflective of where developers are spending their time hacking and making applications today, is in AI and LLM applications. But where else are they really spending their time? On a lot of tuning and optimization and very low-level design for storage and schema and managing the indexing lifecycle when it comes to vector databases. When we talk to people who really want to build AI-enabled applications, they want to use AI to enable their products to be better, faster, more capable for their customers. They're really talking at the same time with us about deploying it into production, the tuning they have to do on the indexing level. It's a lot of infrastructure cruft to get through in order to deploy their AI-enabled application. So with that in mind, we decided to listen to our customers, and with the same principle of enabling developers.
So if you look at SQLite versus Dynamo, it is so easy to install SQLite on your laptop, build a toy project, and that looks super straightforward, right? But operationalizing it is where all the time is spent. Like, now you gotta go deploy it, you gotta scale it, you gotta add shards with your SQL databases. All that work to operationalize it, it's way more than the time it takes to actually experiment. And in this day and age, those distractions should not exist, right? So vector indexes, a lot of companies have it. There's a lot, if you wanna just build a toy project, it's super easy to do that. Once you get to operationalizing it, you end up doing all this, right? When you go beyond your laptop. So our goal with Momento Vector Index is to make the first actually serverless index. And what that means, just walking you through some of the key primitives here: instant scale, instantly ready to be production, and 0 distractions. And instead of managing the number of index nodes you have, the number of query nodes you have, and the number of storage nodes you have, the shards, the AZs, the capacity planning, when does the index get made, when do you actually, do you store these indexes on disk versus memory? All of these decisions that you learn as you operationalize your project, all of these get abstracted away with Momento Vector Index. This is all built completely. Those are things that are our problems. And ironically, for one thing, the AI is actually missing from the vector databases because you have to do all of this yourself today. Except if you're just building an experiment. Our goal is to get your experiments out into production faster.
One of the things that we were very deliberate about, why is it called a vector index? Why not call it a vector database? Because I think databases you have to manage, you have to design the schema, you have to learn how to query it, you have to learn what optimizations are needed to optimize your queries. We really wanted to zoom in and just focus on the index part. Build your index, search your index. That's how it's used. That's how simple it ought to be. Right? So we're overly obsessed, perhaps, with the simplicity of offering an API-first service. That is the inspiration we took away when we discovered the world of serverless. So it really boils down to just 2 APIs. Build the index, use the index, search the index. And for those of you that can't wait to get started, here's a preview of what the experience really ought to look like, right? You insert a document with some vectors. I'll go through this a little bit more on the subsequent slides. And then you search it. That is really all it should take to interact with a vector, quote unquote, database For us, it's just an index. All the lifecycle management, all the nitty-gritties of how to design your storage schema, all the nitty-gritties of optimizing query performance, optimizing cost, that should be all done out of the box for you. Because most of us just want to focus on the actual business logic and the application. So as an example, we have, by the way, this example built out and shown, demonstrated at our booth. If you want to know more, if you want to get your hands dirty with the code, a bunch of our Momento employees are ready to show you at our booth. But I wanted to go through it really quickly with you to show you how you can use 2 simple APIs. Every single one of you sitting in the audience can build this today. It's just not that hard. It's really not as intimidating as it might sound when someone says AI application, LLM application. We're gonna demonstrate it via a really simple chatbot, but that's just the beginning. So with the first API, you build your index. What does it really take? You take some data sources. You don't have to worry about this complicated architecture diagram, but it's really just a few lines of code. You take the data source, you produce some vectors with it using whatever tools, OpenAI, open source embedding models that you might have. You use the API from Momento to insert it into your index. Step 2, you search it. You have a query coming in, you build your web application, people start coming in asking you questions. You use the same tool to turn them into vectors, into embeddings. Again, could be OpenAI, could be an open source model. There's tons out there, resources out there for you to use. You search the vector index, the Momento Vector Index, and you feed it back into your LLM, your large language model, to produce a humanized answer. And bam, you have your chat application. And you can start talking to RoboMo today at the booth, or you can go to the web URL that we have. We'll have a QR code by the booth as well. You can start chatting with our RoboMo about anything that's Momento related. He's a trained expert on Momento, and it's amazing. It literally takes a day for any one of you in the audience to build this.
I think it's important to talk about, again, experiment versus being production ready for scale and operationalization, right? That's our focus. And then the specific area, if you look at the LangChain tutorials and so forth, the one part that is, OpenAI is completely online, but if you want to run, Chroma or whatever you end up using, it's all on your laptop, and then taking it to production ends up requiring stuff. So again, just 2 APIs. Vector indexes are should not be that complicated to consume. So it's just literally these 2 APIs, insert and search. And just some other facts to leave you with. Vector search is just simpler without the distractions, especially when it comes to operationalization. Chatbots are just the beginning. Everybody's doing chatbot demos. We're doing the chatbot demos. But there's so much more you can do with similarity searches. And our passion is to just help people experiment faster so that they can actually use it for things like image similarity searches and so forth. And what matters right now for the world, there's a reason why every developer is focused on AI right now. It's because there is a lot of new applications to be made. There's a lot of new utility to be made for the world. So we want to emphasize that what matters most right now is the speed of iteration, and we want to fuel that speed of experimentation for our customers. So real quick, we have a Momento Vector Challenge. We ask people to tweet about it. If you're interested, we would love to hear what you want to build. And if your idea is great, we'll actually partner with you. We'll build it with you. We're looking for more design partners. So I will make blank. Just describe what it is that you want to use with Momento Vector Index. We have a booth. We're here to brainstorm with you. We're here to help you iterate on that idea. We'll even help you, refine it and even build it for a select few ideas as well.
And remember, no idea is too crazy. We are living in the world of AI, and the point of the Momento Vector Index is to leave behind the infrastructure challenges and just focus on your application. So dream big. We love big dreams, and we love ambitious ideas.
With Jonky the Overlord for ideas, the crazier the better, the bigger the better. The rest of the day, we have great speakers. this is the Momento Index waitlist. If you want to get started with it, just scan this QR code. We'll add you to the waitlist, and we'll have this more. But the rest of the day, you're gonna have great speakers that are giving you some of the basics and the advanced aspects of what you can do in this new world. You're gonna walk away hopefully educated and supercharged and inspired on what you can do, and have like a deeper understanding of what's actually possible here by knowing some of the fundamental concepts. And with that, I would like to.
Wait.
Oh.
I have one. Can you go back to the last slide? Just a quick, everyone here will give you first access on our beta. Everyone that is here at MoCon, so do scan, find us, but we will have this group have first access before we roll it out to other people. So just wanted to point that out as well.
Good call out. And with that, I want to bring on Alex Debris. And if you have a very complex topic that you want to understand, Alex is my favorite teacher. I read everything he writes about DynamoDB, and now he's going to explain Gen AI to you so you can walk away as an expert. So, Alex Debris.